then Diddy has to live with the choices he made. And he could be walking out of a courtroom now. That don't mean he's out of the prison of his psychology. You know what I'm saying? Like he might have demons popping in his head from the stuff that he's done.
Perfect.
Diddy. That Diddy verdict came out, man. Diddy was found not guilty of the racketeering conspiracy, not guilty of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion on Cassie Ventura. Not guilty on sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion on Jane Doe, but was found guilty on transportation to engage in prostitution in the count against Ventura and Jane Doe. So a lot of people were celebrating. And I was like, wait, if there's guilty, I don't know if we should just be like, you coming home. But we also don't know what these offenses, kind of how much they weigh really in terms of, you hear a prostitution charge, but you're like, all right, I remember when I was young, I heard of certain celebrities getting caught with prostitutes. You never heard of them doing prison time.
Right.
But I don't think that's exactly what he's facing because this has a maximum sentence of up to 10 years in prison.
Because it was across state lines.
Exactly.
It's transportation across state lines.
And most of the times it's not a federal offense because it's not the state line part of it. But that's what's going to get you into a whole nother tax bracket in terms of speaking about the sentencing. But yeah, I don't think he's going to get 10 years.
I doubt he'll get 10 years.
Yeah, just because of what came out in this case. We thought it was going to be way more salacious. Thought it was going to be a lot more scandalous. And I think once the case started getting boring in terms of the news that was coming out of it, I kind of was like, oh, they don't really have much.
I mean, what they had mostly was, so they had a ton of witnesses, but they didn't interview all the witnesses.
Okay.
The main witnesses was just the two girlfriends, Cassie and then Jane Doe, whatever her name is. And I mean, that's pretty much it. And in both instances, I don't think anybody disagrees with the fact that he was abusive in some way, shape, or form. But there's a big issue surrounding consent. Like with both of these ladies, you've seen instances where, they may have broken up with him, chose to come back, sending him text messages showing that they clearly are down, whatever it is, for all the freaky shit that he's doing.
Setting it up.
And setting all of these things. And if I'm a juror, that stuff matters. Like, and so I was never really with the whole racketeering charge on one individual. Like, I just feel like that's not playing fair.
But before the case came out, you thought we were going to... I thought we were going to hear about celebrities. I thought we were going to hear about parties.
I thought a lot more people were going to go down.
I'm starting to wonder. I wonder how much... what was the guy's name? The attorney, Tony Busby? I wonder how much he got it from... Because he said he sent lawsuits out to celebrities that have already started to settle. Now, he could have been lying. Who knows about that? But
I don't believe he probably did.
How much so he just got a bag of people settling for stuff they don't even...
Maybe.
Because you probably...
they don't want that... Yeah. They don't want that publicity. They don't want to be attached to it.
Yeah, exactly. But even so, you might think... Because you might conflate the two. Because this is a civil case. And then there's also a federal case going on where you see...
but that's how Diddy shit started as a civil case.
That's true.
And then the feds was watching and they, you did. All right, now we gonna go in.
And I think once you see people leaving his house with cameras, videotapes and computers, hard drives, you start wondering like, maybe you did something. Don't gotta be nothing salacious. Don't gotta be even nothing freak off-y, but you did something at a party. You're like, damn.
And if I'm worth mad bread, $5 million may not be nothing to me. I'll come up off this $5 million. I'll stay quiet.
But as this case was going on, it did start to feel like this is just a black man that you guys are trying to embarrass. Like, there's a big difference. What R. Kelly was doing seemed way more organized in terms of he had homes set up where the women couldn't leave, and it almost seemed like prisons. And that seems more like what they were trying to throw on Diddy, where this is like, these are women that he's in a relationship with. Now, granted, he's asking them to do something that maybe they've grown to regret. Maybe they've, after time has passed, it's like, that was a little wild. But not this, not racketeering to, you know what I mean? Not a racketeering conspiracy.
They were trying to make an example. Yeah. And that piece I'm not really with, making an example out of people. Like, I'm with being fair, keeping that same energy at all times. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it seems really weird. I thought a lot more was going to come out of this case. And like you said, there were witnesses that they didn't talk to because they put the weight on the case, on the Jane Doe, on the Cassie Ventura of it all. But it And I will admit, it does seem like Diddy had an organization set up in almost some Nino Brown type ways of how this was going to happen. Not just for freak offs, but also for like if he had a beef with somebody, if he had an issue, you know what I'm saying? So they probably could have actually got him if they went a different route with it, but because they tried to throw this prostitution, almost like slut shaming him, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was like, all right, now you made your case kind of like flimsy. Also, I think another thing is because of the feds, something you always hear when somebody has a case in federal court, the 98% conviction rate. I think that number's so high because a lot of people keep hearing about a 98% conviction rate, when if they really came down to it, they probably could afford a lot of those cases, but maybe not. You don't got the resources.
Right.
You feel like the odds are against you going into it, but it doesn't. I mean, this kind of makes it seem kind of clownish the way they kind of went at Diddy with this, and shout out to him for like having the boldness to like combat it. You know what I mean, and not just taking something. And I also don't like the fact that my man dropped to his knees. Also don't like the fact that like he hasn't been granted bail up until this point, and then still got denied bail after the sentence has been told. Now that might be his own doing, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at no bail. At the end of the day, if your attorney leads, like they opened up the case with, he's a violent, like this is a case of violence and all of that. So if I'm the judge, and the judge even said this, I mean, how could I let him off on bail? You say your client is a client like a violent that commits violent acts. If I let him off until sentencing, who knows what he can do?
No, yeah, and I believe...
I don't think he's going to flee, so the judge never really... It wasn't about fleeing, it was just about his violent nature.
Well, yeah, because I think after hearing about the indictment, he still threatened multiple people that were involved in this.
Oh, you mean like in the beginning, earlier on? Yeah,
Yes,
he did.
Knowing that there's an investigation against him, he was going out of his way, and people testified to him threatening them. So I can see why they feel like, if we let him out now, who knows? Even if he feels like he's going to go do 10 years, he still might, you know what I mean? Somebody said Cassie got a target on her back. I don't believe that. Only because of how much money she got out of all of this. That if she wants to protect herself, she now has the resources. She has the resources to disappear and never be seen again. He also has a lot more resources, and I don't know at this point, now that he's paid lawyers, now that he's given up certain things, how much resources he still has. Might not be as much as it was before. I don't think he even wants to waste his time with that, though.
He should be done.
Yeah, I don't see it as a target on his back. Target on her back. She spoke her truth. It's one thing if you're just going out and just talking about something that embarrasses somebody else, but some of the stuff embarrassed her.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
a lot of the stuff embarrassed her.
It went both ways.
Yeah, so I don't see it as that. I think if they've all gone through it.
If you even think about it, Target, how many instances have we seen where whether it's like George Zimmerman, Casey Anthony, like these figures that were very extremely polarizing, people hated them. They got off. They live normal lives at this point. Like
George Zimmerman live a normal life? I thought he was like
he lives in Florida. I mean, we don't hear him in the news, so I mean, he's not in the witness protection program. Okay. So I mean, he's, as far as I'm concerned, he lives a normal life. And we seen him in the news like years after that verdict. Like, remember, like he helped rescue somebody like that was in a car crash and the car caught on fire or some shit. Like,
maybe I assumed it was negativity.
So no, I mean, Casey, they all live normal lives after, like, the way society works. A week or two after the verdict, we move on, and nobody 100%. Fucking remembers about this shit.
What do you think? Let's say they say it's time served because Diddy's, I believe, this verdict they scheduled for October.
Yep.
Which seems further away than it really is. October will be here before we know it. But being that he's been already locked up for 10 months, at that point, it seems like it's going to be close to 13 to 15 months. So they may possibly say time served. I know that's at least what his lawyers are going to try to argue. Let's say they go with that route. What's next for the music mogul?
Certainly not music. I think,
does he have that though? That sense of awareness?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Like, come support my album.
I think he might. But because and not just him. You've seen this in a Chris Brown. You've seen this in something like even a Rick Ross, who wasn't even legal trouble. It was more like internet fodder. You just go to the music. You drop a lot of music heavy. R. Kelly did it when he got in trouble. So I think if that has always been something that you like, all right, I'm leaning back.
It'll be very interesting. It'll be interesting
for people to talk about him, not because Son is still making music and got Yeezy backing him.
Yeah, but I don't know that anybody really ever took his son seriously, even in the music.
Song.
No, but what I'm saying is like
since all this.
No, even before that. I mean, his son has been an artist, but he ain't no big. Like, no, it's just I never thought he could fucking rap like that. He's fucking.
Nah,
Diddy's
he had
son.
a Wayne though. He was the song with Kodak, right? That he had.
I thought that song was trash. I mean, the radio. I think the radio kind of likes
it. He got spins. Yeah, I'm not turning it on right now at the cookout. But
I thought that song was trash.
I remember that time it got way more spins than I thought it would. But it's like there's a sample in it too. It's a familiar song that we already know.
Yeah, that's probably that's why. Yeah.
So like, yeah, but he doesn't need the music to be successful.
So it will it will be interesting to see what he does after all of this. If he gets back into music some way somehow.
My advice would be like maybe lean on philanthropy. Maybe try to. If you really care that much about what people's opinions are of you, try to at least get notoriety and fame.
Don't try. Just better yourself and lead through examples.
Yeah.
I mean,
because I feel like, and also what we know you for. It's sad to say because we're 40 now. That era's kind of played out. The era that Diddy's from. I don't want to say that they.
Now wait. What era are you referring to? Like
who that was? Let's think about when Diddy's first album came out. No Way Out.
Yeah,
who
that was
from
98.
that time era is still making music? We'll say Nas.
No, I mean there's not a lot.
Yeah.
Like Nas, Jada.
I don't want to even say played out in a sense like I'm saying that it's a bad thing. To me, they're the pioneers. Like I was listening to, I want to say it was Snoop Dogg's Beautiful. And Snoop Dogg was out way before that song came out. That song itself is 20 years old, right? So
that's crazy.
I'm thinking back when like I was DJing in college, right? Let's say we talk about 2006. That's the equivalent of a song being made in 1986. Imagine how we thought about songs that were made in 1986 when we were freshmen in college, when we were sophomores in college. So it's not just. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't think that's what Diddy dancing around with a bottle of champagne or a bottle of Ciroc. I don't think that's what
we're not there at this point.
They don't care for that. That's so lean into that. You're now in that next stage, and I think that's kind of what Jay is at. I do in the back of my mind think Jay will drop more music, just kind of out of nowhere on us. But also, I think he kind of feels like that himself. Like that. It passed. I had my run. I had the time when I was the cool guy doing it. Now I might just be the artsy guy doing it. You know what I mean? For the love of the game. But it's not. It's a different thing when you're trying to be the cool guy.
Yeah.
Or the life of the party, so to speak. Some people are like, hey, why are you still here? Mm-hmm. But I want to see what happens next. I don't. And not for nothing, Diddy. Nothing in this. I won't say nothing because a lot came out. I've already lost respect for Diddy before this case. I don't think the stuff that I learned in this case has made me lose respect for Diddy. I lost respect for Diddy watching the Cassie video. I've lost respect for Diddy watching the way he's treated other people. I've lost respect for Diddy with the publishing stuff before. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you've already passed that. But what I've learned in this case, nothing. It seems like you're just into different things than I am into in terms of how you would like to spend time with your girlfriends and what you like to do. But I don't think that you're necessarily bad for that. I don't think you're bad for that at all. Like these. Now there might be.
You don't think that he's bad for like being freaky? Is what you're saying?
Yes. Now, if he was there were points where there were allegations that they didn't want to do certain things, and now he's forcing them to do it. But you also still have a point. You have a choice at that point. Like I can be embarrassed, or I can do something I don't want to do. I can, you know what I mean, or my career could be over, or my rent can stop getting paid, or I can do something I don't want to do. You still have a choice at that point, and you decided to go with that option that kept things a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more whatever for you. Now I'm not blaming you for that, and I think he might be a messed up person in that regard.
Wait, let's you touch on a good point, and let's expound on that a little bit because I think that's something that gets missed. You know, when we talk about the mindset of like somebody who is abused, like, you know, someone who's gone through sexual abuse, you know, some people will say to that, well, they don't have a choice. You know, they're abused, so they don't even know that they have a choice and all of these things, which yes and no. At what point do we I agree that, you know, when somebody is abused, mentally, they're not fully there. Okay. So while as a human being, as an adult, maybe you do have the ability to make a choice. When you are abused, those choices may not seem very black and white. The question becomes, in those instances, where do we draw the line between, okay, you're an adult, and we're talking about adults. We're not talking about 5-year-olds, 10-year-old. We're talking about adults. You're an adult. While you are abused, you've been in this abusive situation for some time. Mentally, you're X, Y, and Z. Where do we draw the line with saying, okay, you have some type of responsibility. You had an opportunity to leave, and you did, but then you came back. You know, you had an opportunity to say no, or whatever the case may be.
The authorities,
like, could have went to the authorities. Where do we draw the line with saying, okay, like, you do have some responsibility in all of this, because you're not a child, period. I don't care what you say. You know, be abused all you want. You still had an opportunity to choose a different path. And so from that standpoint, all the onus cannot be on the abuser in my opinion. And so as a society, where do we draw that line? I feel like we don't. We just try and throw all the onus on the abuser, and the victim is just the victim, and oh, poor victim.
No, I know, you're right. Yeah, because there are people who did turn him down, not necessarily in a sexual way or like a romantic way, but I don't want to work for you. I don't want to choose you. And been threatened, hey, this isn't going to be great for your career, but they had to live with it and walk with it. No, you brought up a good point. I'm not going to sit here in front like I've been in an abusive relationship, but I was in a very contentious one. You know what I'm talking about. Where it was violent. It was there were things you touched on a good point. There were things that were happening that I didn't make the best decisions. You know what I mean? But I'm still responsible for the decisions that I made during that time period. So things that happened during that time period and the consequences that come from it, I'm still held responsible. Nobody cares, hey, this is a rough time in my life. This is this is that. And I'm not trying to be sexist. I get it if there's a male-female element here. But it sounded like there was a bit of comfort that these women enjoyed experiencing, and they were willing to put up with certain behavior to continue experiencing those certain comforts. I'm not saying it would have been easy for them to leave. I'll never tell anybody that. And we're not there in their relationship to even talk like that. But I do know, looking at it, there's a difference between this comfortable on this side, be it maybe some things you don't like, as opposed to really uncomfortable on the other side. And they might not have been willing to hit to that other side until later in the relationship where other things happen. I don't want to victim blame. I don't want to sit here and make Diddy seem like he's a great person, because he's not. There's been allegations of sexual assault towards assistants and things like that. So it's just like, that's crazy to me. That's wild. You should be locked up for stuff like that. But if we're gonna say and view their relationship and view that, and then say, hey, you should be in trouble for this, but that person should get immunity for that. No, now we're getting weird here. There was a messed up relationship. Y'all both made very bad decisions. You could have at the time, and once again, not victim blaming, but y'all could have at the time probably could have had a case against him if you went to the authorities and really felt as strongly as we're, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say that they're making it seem, but as this whole situation is making it seem. So, yes, there is a certain level of responsibility. It's also not for us to judge. They got to live with that. The decisions they made, things that they allowed to be done to them, they have to live with that. And that's their own. And Diddy has to live with the choices he made. And he could be walking out of a courtroom now. That don't mean he's out of the prison of his psychology, you know what I'm saying? Like, he might have demons popping in his head from the stuff that he's done, you know what I'm saying? So, and he's gonna have to come to terms with that, and I think everybody gets their day. But we're gonna keep y'all informed when we do find out what the sentence will be, and definitely tell y'all about it here at the Perfect Talk Podcast. You seen the people pouring baby oil on themselves? What was that? That was.
Oh, you got a level of support.
Yo, I don't even know if I want to say those are.
Oh, they were selling merch too. Damn, it was some funny shit too.
Really?
Yeah,
it was a circus out there. No, 100% was a circus.
Oh man, I seen some shirts. I forget. Damn.
They said the chick from the Breakfast Club, Lauren LaRosa, was like how Diddy's family. They definitely had a sense of like excitement when the sentence came out, when they walked out. But I guess they had to go back later to find out about the bail, if that'd be approved or not. And that was just a different energy. But I feel like even to have excitement, I guess if your dad's up for life and you know he's not gonna get life, you'd be excited just to know he didn't get the life. But I was like,
and you have to think black people excited. Like it's not gonna be.
Oh,
it's not. No, yeah, that's not
Sunday church excitement.
There you go. So.
Yeah, no, but I think we were talking about in the group chat. And we were like, well, he was guilty on these, and then I think it was Keith was like, oh yeah, Diddy doing some time. And then,
yeah, but there's the difference. All right, my pop's got to do 5-10 years versus the rest of his life.
Yeah, exactly.
So from that same thing with Diddy, like he's on his knees because the most serious charge is off the table.
That's true, man. What it do, y'all? It's your man DJ Playboy. Just interrupting real quick, man. I really appreciate you watching this episode of the Perfect Talk Podcast. But if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. You got to run them numbers up so I can keep running it up. Also, if you're listening to the audio version on the podcast, make sure you leave a review. Let them know how much you love the podcast and, subscribe to the thing. And if you really, really want to support the team, go to www.perfecttalkpodcast.com. Get yourself a t-shirt, get yourself a sticker. You can even get yourself a mug, man. The possibilities are endless and the prices are low. Holla at us, baby. Let's get it.